Good morning. Happy Saturday, November 30th, the last day of the month. Remember to journal what you're grateful for, your gratitude. All right? So let's get back to the transformative power of gratitude and non interference. I'm going to see if we can get through this today, okay? So be patient with me. Okay. So where did we stop yesterday? Here we go. So, let's see. It looks like for the feeling of superiority, it looks and it always finds it. If you can't think of anything, any way in which you are superior to anyone else, neither physically, nor mentally, nor in possessions, nor in ancestry, what do? Then you become a victim. Don't become a victim. We don't want to be victims. And you can, in your mind, can find in your mind what clings to the eye as either the personal victim or the collective victim. And this is becoming very fashionable these days, to be a collective victim. Not to deny that, of course, things have been done to certain groups of people in the past. Things also have been done to individuals in the past. Things that were very bad. But to use that history, that collective history or personal history, in the service of an identity, that is a delusion. It is unconscious, and people don't know that this is what they are doing. And basically, what I'm reading into that, and I may be wrong, but in this day and age, just think of all the groups out there that think that they're superior and that they have been duly wronged all of their existence. They need to look deeper into that history to understand where we are. But instead, what people are doing is they're reaching back, looking back through history, and seeing where certain groups of people were punished, tortured, enslaved, but they only look at their group of people. And what I'm talking about, and I'm trying to be very sensitive with what I'm going to say, but it's difficult. It's difficult to do because at one point in time in our history, all of our people, whether they were black, white, Asian, American Indian, Asian Indians, whatever, we were all enslaved. in England, before blacks were brought into England, into the UK, they enslaved Irish. They enslaved the Irish and Scottish because they believed that they were superior to Ireland, to the Irish. So we were enslaved. Just a minute, I'm going to let her out. You want out? Because I do not want to enslave her. She hears Bo and Shasha talking, and she wants to go see what's going on. She's a nosy little girl, but that's okay. She can be that way. She's mine. So, the Irish were enslaved. We all know that the blacks were enslaved. The American Indians, when the British came, and here she comes back, when the British came to America, they enslaved the American Indian. Let me close the door. Snickers, you can stay in here. You can stay. Come here. Come here. You can stay in here. I just need the door closed so I don't hear their conversations. Just a second, I have something for you. Now sit down. Okay, so when the British came to the United States, they enslaved the American Indian and destroyed their lands. Then, when they found the blacks in Africa and their kings sold people for trinkets, junk that they didn't need, but they did. They bought the blacks. They shipped them to England. They shipped them to the United States, to the new colonies. And then the British also, when they took over, when their prisons were overcrowded and they took over Australia, they did the same thing there. They enslaved the people in the outback, the Australians. Those people were enslaved, and they worked as prison guards, the ones that the British could tame. And I use that word loosely. They tamed them, they trained them, but they used them as prison guards. They did the same thing here in the United States with the American Indians. And then they did the same thing to the Indians in Canada when they took over Canada. I mean, and the French did the same thing in Canada. So half of Canada is ruled by French, half of it's by Britain. So we've all been enslaved. Look at the Chinese when they started working on the railroads. They were all enslaved. American Indians were enslaved to work the railroads. Blacks were enslaved to work the railroads. Those weren't free people working the railroads. They were all enslaved. And prostitutes. It was all done in the name of progress. Progress is good. But progress is bad when you enslave people. If you don't enslave people, if you let everybody work together for a common goal, then you don't have slavery. Then you have people that are working together. Because everybody is seeking for a stronger sense of identity. So if they can't find it in the negative, they try to look for it in a positive way. They will happily have a negative identity as the greatest victims. So this is a collective identity thing. Identity is very fashionable these days. And it again is unfortunately an illusion. Because that is not you. You get trapped in your surface identity. You don't need to be trapped in your surface identity. You need to be your full identity. Enemies, it loves the surface identity because that's the easiest one they can get to. So you need to keep your surface identity kind of concealed. We are surrounded by enemies. Regard other people as wanting something from you or how to get you. Whole collective does it in some ways. Certain nations do it. Entire nations cannot survive without the collective concept of our enemies. They have to have enemies. I don't understand why. But I guess we do have to have enemies to keep us on the straight and narrow. For example, National Socialism was that in Germany. Communism was that especially in Soviet Russia. And nowadays we still have North Korea. North Korea can only be held together by this collective victim identity of we are surrounded by enemies. Just think, if they didn't think that way, they'd be free. And that keeps the collective ego going. Or if we feel so, our identity is now clearly defined because we are surrounded by enemies. Isn't that just wonderful? They're all out to kill us. Now we know who we are. Let's kill them first. They don't kill us. You can see how it is a form of its delusional identity. So that is, everybody walks with that sense of health, and it makes your life difficult. You have to get onto your real self, your real personality, your real you. Quit putting across that fake persona. Be the real you. I don't want to see a fake person. I have seen enough of them. And I continue to see them. I have a friend who had a rough life, adult life. I did too. But she seems to think hers was worse. She was never prostituted. She was never exploited on the internet. Her ex-husband just yelled and screamed at her and was verbally abusive to her. He may have hit her a time or two, but knowing this person as I know her, not that she may not have deserved some, because she has a tendency to have a mouth on her, just like she's having a mouth on her now, regarding religion, thinking she's the only one that knows the true religion. and the truth that's out there. Nobody else knows anything. She's the only one. And she will unfriend you on Facebook or any in life if you disagree with her. So people tend to walk on eggshells around her. No. That's wrong. You should never have to walk on eggshells around your friends or family members. You should be able to tell the truth. And if they can't handle the truth, that's on them. That's their problem. So she's saying that anybody and everybody that voted for Donald Trump is not a religious person. Well, let's see. And she hates. I got news for her. God doesn't hate. God forgives. God forgives. So if somebody voted for Donald Trump and she found out about it, she will unfriend you. So keep your mouth shut about who you voted for. We don't talk about that. But the person that she voted for didn't get elected because that person didn't know her ass from a hole in the ground about politics. But anyway. Now we know who we are. Now let's kill them first. They don't kill us. You can see how this is a form of delusional identity and thinking. Everybody walks with that sense of health, and it makes life difficult. It creates an enormous amount of unnecessary conflict. And when I talk about enemies, just one more thing. Almost everybody, in the way in which there's one little function that one could call also creating enemies, I call that complaining. And that's what she does. She complains. And complaining is when you can do it either in your mind or out loud. It doesn't matter. It works both ways. You can complain in your mind about where you are, something that's not right about the situation, who you're with, what you're doing, but don't want to be doing, but you're doing it, but it's trivial. And complaining can be trivial. Oh, absolutely. Or you complain about something that should have happened but didn't happen. Or something that should not have happened but it did happen. You can complain about how people behave. You can complain about the weather. What's it going to do? What good is it going to do? It does absolutely nothing to the situation. So you have your identity, and this is usually what people associate with ego when you say he has a big ego. We all have an ego. Some of them are bigger egos than others. I don't think I have a very big ego. I know I'm not the brightest bulb in the package. I know I have things that I need to change about myself, but I know that my personality is getting better. My ego is coming down because I don't need to have a big ego. I just have to be me. So basically, to me, in a nutshell, all this is saying is that we need to curtail our ego and not let it overrun us, take us over, not let it control us. We need to control our ego. We, as humans. What, Snickers? You want out? Just a minute. Mommy will let you. She wanted out. She likes being around other people, and that's okay. That's okay. She's a good girl. But we need to keep ourselves together. We need to keep our ego in check. We need to be cognizant of what we're doing, what we're saying, who we're saying it to. We need to just get along. You know, some of these gals that I have lunch with, we've known each other 50 years. We went to high school together. We basically kind of all grew up together. And we're all we have left. I mean, out of close to 300 students that graduated, there's probably less than 100 of us left. So we need to get along. We're all we have of our graduating class. And if we can't be kind to one another, what good is life? We must be kind to each other. We must cherish what we have. Otherwise, you're just floating through life like a dandelion. And that's not a good way to be. We need to keep ourselves together. We need kindness. We need sensibility. We need love. And we can do this. We, as humans, need to be careful how we behave with our friends in public. We don't need to walk on eggshells. We shouldn't walk on eggshells around our friends. And we should be respectful of others' beliefs. And not getting pissy at them for having their beliefs. I believe that the president that we have now will help us. I'm not saying he's the best man, but I do believe that he will keep our children safe, our borders safe. So, with that, peace, love, take care of yourselves. Remember to be kind and loving to all, because God put us all on this earth to populate this earth in a positive manner, not negatively, but in a positive manner. Peace and love.